Okay, here's the idea. Create a virtual robot that would play a video game. The concept already exists, but I want to improve it to make it behave like the main character would. I have chosen Tomb Raider as it is a renowned platform game, and Lara Croft has a well-defined character. I want this personality to influence the final outcome. The first step is to teach the robot how the game works, and fortunately, Tomb Raider contains a tutorial that explains all the controls. I will let the robot practice in the manner by asking it to complete the stages. Just like human players, the tutorial ends when Lara gets out of the pool, so I can restart the program at that point, taking into account the previous progress and attempting to improve it. At the beginning, it's very chaotic. The robot is all over the place and sometimes gets stuck in the menu, staring at its compass over and over again. Since the game requires minimal resources, I was able to launch it on a virtual machine where I modified the main clock to accelerate the process by 40 times. After a while and through trial and error, the robot manages to complete the tutorial in a relatively decent time. The problem is that Lara always appears in the same spot, and since the level only consists of static elements, there's only one optimized path. Eventually, the route becomes repetitive. The idea would be to change the spawn point, but that wouldn't solve anything because ultimately, it only knows which paths not to take instead of having a more comprehensive method of solving the puzzle. However, I want the robot to discover its own adventure. The solution is to consider that its knowledge of the level is limited to what is displayed on the screen and nothing else. So I observed the behavior of human players who have never played this game. Some would listen to the entire tutorial, while others would explore the surroundings. These differences in choices are defined by their personality. It is this attitude that the robot should replicate. To foster a connection between the robot and Lara, we need to make it understand that she is that pile of pixels. Human players get this immediately out of habit from playing video games. They project themselves onto the character on the screen. So I used the program where Lara runs in all directions to record 24 hours of videos showing her from all angles and sizes. Sometimes the camera even gets closer to the character. At any given moment, the robot should be able to identify Lara, just like smart cars recognize signs on the side of the road. With 24 hours of videos captured at 30 frames per second, that provides 2,592,000 reference images. Initially, I selected the relevant areas by tracking the main pixels, first for the head, and then for the other parts of the body. Since I know that Lara appears in every image, I asked the program to identify those that do not contain any highlighting to ensure it doesn't lose track. The rare instances when it occurs are when Lara occupies the entire screen or when a 2D object passes in front of the camera. Then I tested the identification on a new capture, and the result is very accurate. This is enough to identify Lara on the screen. Now, we need to do the same with the game environment. Fortunately, it contains a relatively small number of textures. This time it's easier because the entire game is composed of blocks. I just need to import them onto a cube and capture it from all angles, then run the identification process again. This way, the robot can identify what types of blocks are visible on the screen, just like a human would. Here's how it interprets the image. The areas highlighted in red are the textures it failed to identify. But it still lacks intentions. To understand where to go, it also needs to know how far it is from its surroundings. Interestingly, these unidentified areas are often the locations far from Lara or those obscured by other scenery. Once again, it's enough to observe the behavior of human players. When we see this image, we immediately understand that there is an opening here. We may not know the size of the next room, but we know it exists. Of course, based on a simple 2D image, it could be an optical illusion, but as we move, we notice that the textures displayed in this area move differently from those surrounding the opening. This is a characteristic of 3D spaces, therefore, the robot needs to move and compare multiple images to determine which textures change the least in size. From a computational standpoint, this can be calculated using the areas of the main polygons. In this example, we can see that these surfaces evolve based on a ratio proportional to their distance from each other. This method is used in astronomy to calculate the position and movement of stars. Here it gives the relative position of the camera. Now that the bot knows where it is, it must determine where to go. Texture identification works for reaching a specific location like a lever, but for navigating through the level, something simpler is required. The quickest way is to simplify the contrast, as that's how openings stand out due to the sudden changes in light in those areas. This method detects the points of interest on the screen. However, a human player may not necessarily go to these locations, especially when there are multiple possible openings. It needs to show an interest that does not lead to death. For example, the robot should be able to assess that a hole is too deep to jump into without grabbing onto the ledge, although there are certain exceptional cases, such as the presence of water, that may justify taking such a risk. Fortunately, in Tomb Raider, the human player knows when a jump is possible or not because Lara's jumps are based on the blocks. The tutorial explains it. Faced with a gap, the robot must therefore estimate how many blocks separate it from its target to determine whether it should gather momentum or not, and whether it should suspend itself before letting go.
Nice!
It could easily do this based on its coordinates in space, but here we are specifically focusing on determining it solely through what is displayed on the screen, just like a human player would. Because if the bot knows the size of a hole in advance, it will behave like a speedrunner, and that's not what we want. Tomb Raider is primarily an exploration game, often requiring us to observe the environment, and we need to teach this behavior to the robot. In case of doubt, it should rotate the camera to gather more information and move around. The problem is that once the robot has collected this missing data, it can still end up getting stuck in a room. So, to encourage it to go further, I added a collection rule. Since not all game textures are displayed at once, its goal will be to expand its catalog, much like discovering all the Pokémon. Therefore, each time it encounters a texture it hasn't seen before, that area becomes its priority. It will have to move in a way that increases the size of that texture on the screen, so by getting closer to it. This will validate the capture of the texture in its catalog and allow the pursuit of other missing textures. This way, it can only progress through the levels as each level has its unique textures, and the only way to unlock them is to move on to the next one. In this situation, the difficulty will be to activate the passage to the next level because unless the ending consists of a unique texture, it may have to reach it by chance, and thus fruitlessly search around for hours. But that's not a big deal because a human player could also get lost. Tomb Raider is also a puzzle game. Reaching a point of interest requires more than just moving forward. There are keys, levers, triggers. So if a human can remember that a lever needs to be activated, it's also possible to instill that knowledge in the robot. It's even easy because the game displays the location affected by the lever action. From its perspective, this will add new textures and therefore, activate its movement. To summarize, here's what the robot sees. Lara is constantly identified, and it will analyze what it sees on the screen, the textures and different surfaces. Then it will move, starting with the body, and if that's not enough to determine the distance between it and a location, it will move the head. By moving, it will shift the surfaces and define new points of interest, which are the textures not yet present in its catalog, and by moving towards these textures, it will validate them and search for the missing ones. The result is already promising, but the robot still appears too robotic. The patterns are immediately noticeable. To improve it, we need to once again observe human players. When we discover a game, we tend to do the same. We turn, run, jump, and later on, we perform multiple actions simultaneously. This process involves memory. We remember that certain actions can be combined by experiencing them. Therefore, we need to incorporate this same process in the robot because Lara is supposed to be aware of her own movement capabilities. To achieve this, I trained the robot by saving its actions every second, and then added a rule to allow it to perform those saved actions at the same time. Although some patterns are still noticeable, it is much smoother now. Of course, this brings attention to other issues. The robot tends to press buttons unnecessarily, and we can even say that it spams actions. Fortunately, the game has a cooldown system in place, which is quite visible. Certain actions are fundamentally incompatible, as when Lara climbs, she cannot perform any other moves. However, she can still perform multiple actions, but once again, each of them has its own cooldown. This means that it is possible to draw weapons while rolling but not to jump. So, even though the robot constantly seeks to optimize its trajectory, it goes unnoticed because all of Lara's movements are automatically smoothed. Additionally, since the cooldown duration for each action is known, I can prevent the robot from performing unnecessary actions while they are still active. For example, the robot will no longer attempt to jump if Lara is already in the process of jumping. This approach results in cleaner code. We can also ensure a successful jump by teaching the robot to walk up to an edge, take a step back, and then build momentum. However, there are still some situations where this approach is impossible due to time constraints. Like in this case, where the flames reactivate so quickly that a large jump is required directly. Luckily, these passages are always visually simplified, and identifying the edge of the block is very easy. The robot knows that Lara will always jump at the right moment when the button is activated during the first part of the block. A human player also quickly understands this. Now we need to instill Lara Croft's personality in the robot. Personality in humans depends on experience and memory. It is the combination of these factors that defines who we are. For Lara, the cutscenes effectively depict and define her character. We learn that she is a renowned archaeologist and fearlessly embraces adventure, as she willingly accepts a mission in the mountains. We learn that she acts out of passion since she refuses the money.
I'm sorry, I only play for sport.
Furthermore, we learn that she is wealthy as she has just moved into a mansion, polite as she greets us,
Welcome to my home.
refined considering the decoration in her vocabulary. She also articulates herself eloquently and is athletic, as evidenced by her possession of a training room. She is skilled in teaching, she adeptly explains the controls.
Walk to the edge with the white line until I won't go any further.
Her swimming prowess is exceptional, showcasing her great endurance. One can even notice a playful side to her character.
Right, now I'd better take off these wet clothes. Pierre, you litterbug.
In other scenes, she seems vulnerable to the cold, considering the thickness of her coat. Then she knows how to use a grappling hook, is skilled in climbing, has no fear of heights, and she is clever as she immediately understands how to open the door. In addition, when the guide is attacked, we learn that she is altruistic and brave because she doesn't hesitate for a second to come to his rescue, even though she is not directly threatened by the wolves. She maintains her composure as her actions in the urgency are extremely effective. She is aware of her capabilities as she cuts her safety rope directly to approach the wolves, knowing that it will make her fall. She demonstrates her proficiency in using weapons and displays excellent aim. In a deleted scene, she even manages to hit a wolf with her knife. She can get angry, she is empathetic as she regrets not being able to save the guide. She has a backpack, she is capable of sparing the life of someone who tried to kill her. Conducting an interrogation, she is determined, she is not afraid to destroy infrastructures, decipher the writings of a lost civilization. Riding a motorcycle, she is sensitive to light as she wears glasses in the mountains and easily gets dazzled. She can make jokes in the worst situations, sees the right moment to act. She is vengeful, discreet, capable of sacrificing an invaluable artifact instead of killing the villain, solve puzzles, steal a boat. All of this while being mortal. The only thing she refuses to do is to force a lock.
No, 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 no.
That's all we learn from her from the first game. The idea is to get her to comment on what she sees in a realistic manner. To do this, I have compiled her personality traits in a database. Everything it says must necessarily consider them. This rule will be the main one. In order for the commentary to make sense with the situation, the program needs to associate the game images with something identifiable in real life. The issue is that textures are often low in detail, but most of them can be matched using Google's reverse image search. After all, if a human can recognize that a cluster of polygons represents a wolf, it is logical to assume that Google can also achieve it with simplified patterns. So, as soon as the robot detects a texture large enough, it will initiate a search. To identify the words, I copy the whole page in ChatGPT, then I ask to classify them by number of occurrences, excluding website and pronouns. Then, the identified word will be added to a list. Finally, I ask it to generate a sentence incorporating these words while taking into account Lara's personality. The idea is to get her to comment on what she sees in a realistic manner. For example, if a texture is identified as a seal, she will only be able to make comments on aspects that connect seals to her personality traits, such as a reference to seal fossils or their excellent swimming abilities, rather than making a comment about the circus. There is still one detail that needs to be worked out: which voice to use. Lara's voice, of course. It is entirely possible. To achieve this, I extracted all the audio passages where she says something.
Hold down the walk button and walk to the white line.
Then, I asked another AI to clone her voice. The process is still super slow, taking several tens of seconds to generate a few words, which is not practical. To continue the experience, I resumed the virtual computer so that I can pause the game whenever a search is in progress, and then resume it once the transfer is completed. Everything is recorded, and I will only need to compile all the pieces to create the impression that everything is happening in real time. From the robot's perspective, it's as if the entire universe is experiencing lag. It won't be aware of anything. In addition, the context and Lara's memories need to be added, as at the beginning of the adventure, she is supposed to know who she is and why she is there. It's worth noting that she is supposed to be aware that she is a video game character too, as she mentions it in the tutorial.
I can't climb up because the gap is too small. But press right and I'll shimmy sideways until there is room.
For now, Lara has vision and speech, but she is still deaf. For the sake of realism, it is essential that she listens to her surroundings, including her own comments. Therefore, I have added an audio recorder that generates a volume curve. Each spike corresponds to a sound that stands out from the ambient noise, with one track for Lara's dialogue and another for the game sounds. Just like in humans, it is always possible to hear our inner voice regardless of the surrounding noise. Next, a monitoring system analyzes the average overall volume during the last 3 seconds. When a spike is detected or when the sound stops, the average inevitably changes. The program detects this change and waits for an additional 3 seconds. These 6 seconds are then segmented and sent for audio recognition, similar to the system YouTube uses to identify copyrighted content. However, in this case, the result is sent to the program that generates Lara's dialogue. For example, in this audio track, we can observe regular spikes, which are actually Lara's footsteps. The average volume remains stable, indicating that nothing significant is happening. But suddenly she bumps into a wall and says, "Ouch," in the game. This spike increases the average volume, which the program detects. It then segments and sends that moment to the audio analyzer, which recognizes the word "ouch" and understands it as an expression conveying surprise or pain. The AI generates a comment, "That hurts." It could have used a swear word, but since it takes Lara's personality into account, it refrains from doing so. The issue is that the comment arrives too late. A real person wouldn't wait as long to comment on a sudden event. Therefore, I have made it so the duration of the recording is correlated with the rate of change of the average volume. Now, when a rapid change is detected, the comment will be based on a shorter delay. This approach works equally well for new sounds and their disappearance. For example, if Lara activates a lever that turns off a noisy machine, she will generate a comment. The robot's comments must also have chronological coherence, as well as its actions. This was the part that gave me the most difficulty because as the program progresses, it becomes overwhelmed with information and too complex to generate something coherent. Therefore, I added a memory filter. The captured information that is relevant to Lara's personality is stored in long-term memory, while the other pieces of information are erased after a few minutes. This way, any random texture interpreted at the beginning of a level does not clutter the code. To ensure that Lara moves towards her points of interest as a priority, I have added a timer when one of the identified words is encountered. This timer allows the robot a few seconds to move towards that point of interest by increasing its size on the screen. On top of that, a second timer activates as soon as Lara is close enough to prevent her from remaining focused on a single texture for too long. Taking into account everything that has been said previously, the robot took about 18 minutes to complete the first level, but in real life it took 8 hours, with over 5 hours dedicated exclusively to voice generation, which remains the least advanced technology currently, at least if you don't want to pay. Audio recognition is faster than image recognition, and generating comments is almost instantaneous. Here is Lara's voice from the original game. This recording is 27 years old.
Welcome to my home. I'll take you on a guided tour.
I will now let Lara comment on her game for 18 minutes, and then we will have a debriefing session.
Okay, the adventure is off to a bad start. My guide just got killed by wolves, and I find myself trapped behind this door. To make matters worse, I left my jacket and grappling hook outside. Fortunately, I still have my pistols and backpack, but it only contains a compass. I should move quickly if I don't want to freeze in place. Let's assess the situation. These wolves were waiting here before I opened the door, which means these tracks must lead to a habitat large enough for them to survive. It's strange, I didn't know there were wolves in Peru. They must be a very ancient endemic species, unless it's simply convergent evolution. I hope to find some fur to analyse in the laboratory. I've seen this kind of slits in walls before, probably some sort of arrow slits like in medieval castles. What is this? Arrows coming out of the walls? It's fascinating to think that such a mechanism still works. These places are supposed to have been abandoned for centuries. It is wiser to be careful. If I get injured, no one will come to help me here. Yeah, I did it! Lara 1. Arrow 0. The tracks come from above, but I'll first check this room. There's an opening in the wall. I think I can reach it by climbing here. Gosh, it's slippery. I almost hurt myself. What's happening? Where is this music coming from? I jumped. What kind of person leaves their trash lying around in a place like this? A medipack? It will be useful if I have to stay here for a while. My goodness, it's freezing. I need to get back on the trail of the wolves. Let's move. It's not obvious, but on closer inspection, it looks like a wolf was walking backwards. Strange. I hear something. Oh look, it's bats! I love these creatures, they are so cute! Come here, little bats, I'm your friend. Ouch! It bit me, right on the face, it hurts so much. Die, you filthy beast! I can't believe I used bullets for something so trivial. That was really dumb. Can't see the tracks here anymore. Oh, I think there's something above this rock. It's too high. My arms are numb. Leave me alone. I'm busy. Another medipack. What is it? A video game? Is someone watching me right now? I don't regret my training. This wall is really treacherous. I'm not sure about the direction. I'd better check the compass. The cave continues this way. I can feel a little breeze coming from there. How interesting, these bricks are typical of the Inca civilization. I think I'm on the right track. I feel like I'm under a glacier because I can't see the sky. What do we have here? There are traces of rudimentary tools on this block. It's getting very interesting. Too bad I don't have my own tools to see what's behind. The vegetation seems to indicate water flow. Maybe this is the entrance to... What was the name again? Vilcabamba. The city of Vilcabamba. I came here for that after all. I find it, then I set up a camp. But what if I can't find the exit and die of hunger? And why am I talking out loud like that? Focus, Lara, you are the best archaeologist of the world. This is an opportunity to shine even more, even if you do that for sport, of course. Haha! A door! I bet this lever opens it. But wait, should I activate it? Now that I think about it, it's strange that it's closed. I doubt the wolves could survive for long in the previous chambers, unless it closed at the same time as the main door. It makes sense. Therefore, it's probably trapped. All right. Caution. I activate the lever. Incredible. There must be a counterweight system behind this wall. These symbols intrigue me, because they resemble Mayan symbols more than anything. Another bat? Don't come near me. Sorry, little thing, but you leave me no choice. It's weird. My magazines should be empty, but they're not. Let's see what's going on. Indeed, this is not normal. The most plausible explanation is that all of this is just a dream, or maybe I really am in a video game. Oh, a barrier! How fascinating. The wood is still in good condition, probably Kumaru protected by the cold. If I had my tools, I would take samples of these ropes. As for the walls, it doesn't bode well. Maybe it's some sort of death cult or a warning. I won't break it if it's not necessary. Let's hope there's another passage. Yes, it must be this way. I think I see something. Wow. Perfectly intact suspension bridges. So this is where the wolves live. I think I can reach that ledge, but it's rather dangerous. I'll go around using the stairs. Hello, wolves. You're much friendlier when you're not devouring my guide. I think it means no. Is it a good idea to walk on these planks? I'll be careful. Slowly, slowly. As I always say, when I want to be careful, I walk. Phew! I made it. The ground must be frozen because the wolves do not add new footprints on it. That bridge doesn't look very strong either. What's this? A mummy? It's creepy. If only I could descend without disturbing the wolves, I could examine it more closely. Why are they so angry? Don't they see I come in peace? Seriously, why do all the animals want to attack me? The light is shining through the ice above the ceiling, which means the glacier covered this place after its construction. It also indicates that the ice must not be very thick, maybe even melting. That would explain the discovery of the cave entrance, especially since the stalactites suggest occasional water flow. Well, I think it's impossible. Goodbye, wolves. I must continue if I don't want to die here. Oh, new patterns. This time it's paintings, probably pigments from the mountains. It's kind of unusual. Wait, there's a smell of moss here. And there it is. Perfect. These plants indicate that there has been light in this room for quite some time, and the temperature must also be stable. Oh my god, what is that noise? There's a bear down there. I almost went down without looking. Hello, Mr. Bear. How did you get here? And what do you eat to survive? Give me answers. Silly me. Bears don't talk. But stones do. This one resembles an Inca figure. It's a shame, but I must move on. There are too many samples to take anyway. I'll come back with a team. The important thing is to find the city. Wow, this is so fancy. I really like how they arranged these stones. Very pretty. They didn't have the wheel, but they knew how to build beautiful staircases, and I know what I'm talking about since I live in a mansion. It's warmer here. I can feel that I'm getting closer. I wonder what this music means. Oh no, more wolves. They've sensed me. Back off! Back off! What a mess! Why did you attack me? Oh well, it was their lives or mine. One thing's for sure, there haven't been any humans here for a long time. There's a big door and a lever. Logically, I should activate it, but first I think there's an opening around here. Bingo, just as I thought. Whenever I discover a hidden place, this music starts playing. Let's see what we have here. A Mayan calendar, surprising. I wonder what stone it's made of. These holes don't look good. I better go back to the previous room. I know there is a medipack, but I already have several and it's heavy. I'm pretty sure the lever will open the door. Should have put on pants because I'm going to scratch my knees with these acrobatics. Let's see what will happen. Wow! I just noticed that I can see myself in the third person. What a strange sensation. Whoa, it's so funny. I wonder why this happened. Was it to show me the door? But I had already seen it. I don't know. Have to do it again. There is music, but no extrasensory experience anymore. What does that mean? Is it normal? Maybe I just need to get through the door in time. I'm a parkour pro. If anyone watching me, observe. Ready, set, go. Wait, that was too easy. Wasn't it supposed to be timed? No. Wake up, door. Wake up, wake up. Oh damn, I think I broke it. Okay, I was just too quick. I guess the devs underestimated my skills. Home music. The notes seem to indicate a mystery. It's a good game design choice, I like it. Arrows again. Ouch, it hurts. They are fired by some kind of compressed air blowpipes in the walls. It's clever because it doesn't break like bows over time. So proof that I'm currently in a simulation is that these arrows are not affected by gravity, but I am. See? That's odd. Another sleeping wolf? Oh darn, it heard me. Once again, I had no choice. It's a dead end. Can't believe they didn't put a clue here. Oh, I'm stupid, it's just in the middle of the room. I wonder if I could break that floor by jumping on it. It worked. I think I recognise this place. I have to check the compass. Yes, I'm behind the barrier. Now I just need to find a way to open this door. This platform has collapsed, but I don't see any debris. Someone must have cleared it a long time ago. I probably have to go through this. Let's go up. I am Lara fearless and strong in Peru's wild mountains where legends belong. Vilcabamba's hidden entrance, my ultimate quest, through perilous lands where dangers infest. It's funny that I never get out of breath even though I've been running for a while. It is a big jump. I should walk to the edge and stop, then go backwards to give a run up. I won't actually jump until the last minute. Okay, that was actually easy. I suppose there's a hidden lever somewhere to open the door. Haha, another medipack. Great. Wow, scary music again. Back off, wolf. Back off. I'm getting good at this. I was startled by the music. The theme seems to adapt to the situation. I wonder if there will be more. Hey, the music doesn't stop. Is it normal? Hello, devs, are you there? Turn off the music, please. Dum-dum. Okay, I think there is no more danger now. Wait, what was that? Completely walked in the wolf. What the? Do you realise how disturbing that is? What is it? A ghost? I shouldn't be able to do this. It breaks all the laws of physics. I've seen a lot of weird things in my life, including zombie butlers, but this is really creepy. Phew, I'm relieved that my feet are still intact. It's great news. I guess it's the lever that opens the door. Gosh, this place is scary. Ouch! I almost broke my leg. Are you kidding me? There's a door behind the door.
At the beginning, the robot is aware of Lara's recent experiences because I have provided that information. The first image doesn't reveal whether a texture represents a slippery slope, so the robot proceeds since Lara is programmed to automatically stop at the edge of the block she is on. Next, the bot moves the camera to search for new textures, such as the door. It knows that it possesses a compass because the item cannot be removed from Lara's inventory. It detects the snow, tracks, and continues searching for new textures. When it comes across the murder holes, it captures the image, identifies it, and generates a comment. It detects the change in volume and says something.
What is this?
As it descends, the image becomes almost entirely white, identified as a vast expanse of ice. Lara comments on her fear of the cold.
My goodness, it's freezing.
For the bat bite, it detects the texture of blood, which always appears the same way in 2D. In this instance, there are two possible directions, and the robot attempts to move the textures to make a decision. This particular section is interesting because it is poorly coded in the original game. Given the number of blocks, Lara should be able to reach the ledge, but it requires holding the forward key to achieve it. As the robot has never encountered this situation before, it tries all the possibilities and successfully overcomes the obstacle. The object pickup is optimal because it can identify the size of the ground block. In contrast, for the first secret, the ground had a uniform color with indefinite edges, which resulted to safe walk. When descending, it unnecessarily suspends itself. An experienced player knows there is no danger, but the robot lacks sufficient information to determine this due to the camera angle in this room. Here, it hesitates again on the direction. The use of the compass is strictly linked to Lara's personality as an explorer. The robot is incapable of utilizing it. If it goes left, it is primarily because it has identified a new texture not yet catalogued. As it approaches following the expected behavior, the identified word here is brick. and the comment references the Incas and tools as it relates to Lara's interests. When this interest time is exhausted, it continues searching. The door is directly identified because it is a highly visible texture in the game. Here, it takes one extra step as it cannot know that the hitbox of the door does not correspond to its texture. This particular section is interesting because it is indeed possible to reach the ledge, but the robot is cautious and prefers not to jump when it is not necessary. Here, it detects the bear's roar, but since it doesn't see the bear, it decides to descend. This movement is a shortcut for performing a half-momentum jump, often used in speedruns. This lever almost stumped it because the door didn't reveal any new textures. Even though Lara remarks that the lever should open the door, the robot has no way of knowing it. It is simply an association based on the search for the words lever and door within the context of a video game. The loop is formed because the activated lever is identified as a new texture, making the door a secondary point of interest. It only loses this priority after activating the lever multiple times, when some parts of the memory have been refreshed. We encounter a similar process in the room with the wolf, where the robot initially focuses on the animal and concludes it is a dead end before noticing the new texture. In the final room, it identifies the barrier due to its reverse texture, and since the texture of the first barrier is stored in long-term memory, it can make a comparison. As for the large door, it doesn't linger since it has already seen an identical one before and only proceeds when there is a change in that location. Although the robot manages well in the first level, it is not the case in the next ones. However, some humans struggle with these concepts without cheating as well, so it's probably something that needs some specific training, such as associating an unusually complex texture with a puzzle to solve. Fortunately, the comment system makes issues easy to identify. For instance, Lara never speaks about multiple levers, she only sees a single one. She can navigate through highly dangerous areas without issue while considering seemingly trivial situations as impossible. Here, she fails to understand that she needs to put herself in danger under the hammer to dodge it at the last moment. In conclusion, the initial idea of creating a virtual robot that emulates the behaviors of a video game's character is possible, but it still requires further improvement. The technology continues to evolve, and we can imagine very intriguing implications for the future, such as giving a voice back to someone who has lost it, or enabling communication with the departed.
Okay, this is the end of the video, which means I can finally unpack these boxes. By the way, did you know that this video is not sponsored? That means the creator needs your help to promote this content, especially considering how challenging the algorithm can be. Thanks for your help, and thanks for watching. Winston, can you come here? I need to put this in my bedroom. The meat goes in the freezer. And be careful with the door. It tends to close on its own.